Has anyone tried this new Mountain Dew yet? It's like a Laguna Sunrise in a can. How's everyone doing today? Monkey Sensing Sensei back with another video. And today, I'm doing a follow-up video to my last video I put up talking about where I've been, my CD collection, why I love CDs, all that great stuff. So I'm following that up with a video titled Rush on CD, the early years. So this video is going to primarily cover the debut album up to All the World is Stage. Everything that I have on CD currently. So it's going to be a shorter video, but I figured this would be a good little retrospective to kind of get people grooving for when I finally get my Hemisphere video up. Now, Hemispheres is an album that I love to death, but that album is hard to write for, particularly because of the beginning suite. The opening suite is one of those songs you really have to hone in and listen to and really get your headspace in a good spot. So yes, that video is going to be coming at some point. I'm still working on the script for Hemispheres. Once I get Hemispheres done and out the door though, Permanent Ways, Moving Pictures, all those albums will be so much easier to write for. So I should hopefully get those videos out and my Rush retrospective train, if you will, can start chugging on the tracks again. But in the meantime, I want to show off some of my early Rush CDs. Now, disclaimer, I don't have any originals or really early pressings. The ones that I have currently are the Rush remasters. These were done in 1997 by... These were mastered by Bob Ludwig and Brian Lee, not Stan Lee's cousin, at Gateway Mastering Studios in Portland, Maine. Sorry, I had to look that up real quick. A little spoiler to the first album there. But these remasters get a lot of flack in the community for being really loud and not being mixed very well. But to me, hot take, these remasters sound amazing. And speaking of amazing, we're going to start off with Rush's debut album, simply titled Rush. This album is great. I'm going to start off right here. I'm not one of those Rush fans who dogs on the Rutsy era just because Neil isn't on it. John Rutsey was a great drummer for who he was, and he was a great spokesperson and really the original leader of the band. If you watch their earlier performances at St. Catharines in Canada, and when they went to, I think it was the secondary school, where they were playing there, John Rutsey is the spokesperson. He was the main guy in the band. Originally he wrote all the lyrics, but then he threw them out, and they had to write lyrics on the fly, which is another complaint that people have with this album, that the lyrics are pretty 70s prototypical rock and roll, partying chicks and all that stuff. But if you leave that aside, this is a pretty rockin' album. And you can see right here, I have it one sealed. This is a sealed copy. I bought this one time, and then I bought this the time I went after. I promise I show this shirt off in another video. Ta-da! This is the video. Deafman vinyl. All the way down in Texas or Georgia, I believe. I'm going to put the store information over here. But great record store. I'm actually going to show off another big box set that I got from him the other day when that comes in. So, a little bit of a spoiler alert there. I'll be getting a big box set from him. But yes, Deafman vinyl. Great record store. I've gotten a bunch of stuff from him. I'm always shouting him out. I believe I have a mug from him as well. This is where I got this Moving Pictures framed photo thing from. It's meant to be hanged up, but because I don't want to put holes in our walls, I have it here, and then I have it on my record shelf when I'm not filming. So yes, Deafman vinyl. If you want to get records, record cleaning supplies, t-shirts, mugs, anything, go check him out. But getting back to the debut album here, I'm going to hold up my sealed copy. I have it in my CD holder here. But getting back to this, this was the album that really broke Rush. Now, Donna Halper, for many people who don't know this, Donna Halper worked at a radio station in Cleveland. And she first heard Working Man, the last song on here, and started to play it. And it got radio play, and people loved it because it was about, what else? Going to work and being a working man. And to me, Rush are like the working man's band, practically. Like they are just normal guys, they're family men, they respectable, and they just love music, and they just love working. So, and they did it for 40 plus years. And hell, Getting Alex is still working to this day. Finding My Way, she also played that too. That didn't get as much buzz as what Working Man. But this whole album is like prototypical 70s hard rock. There's a little bit of metal thrown in there. One of my favorite moments on this album is actually before and after, where it gets past that slow bluesy part, and you get that sick, crunching riff. And then after that riff, it goes into this little, too short, Black Sabbath-esque riff. I was walking home from work one day, and I'm listening to this album, and I'm like, whoa, where the hell did that come from? I don't remember that being on here. I just love how this album opens with Finding My Way, and that quintessential Rush riff. And you get that 1-2 punch of Need Some Love and Take a Friend, which Take a Friend is one of those songs that a lot of Rush fans do not care for, but it's one of my favorites on here. I love that bluesy, kind of dirgy riff, and the way Alex plays and just goes off on the solo is just incredible. It really showcases Alex's early talents as a guitarist and a musician. And then here again, slows down the pace a little bit. It's more of this bluesy, kind of morose ballad. It's almost like their version of Turn the Page from Bob Seger. It's like about life on the road, and you know, I'm here again. I'm living the same life out on the road. I could just picture Geddy writing this while driving in the van. Well, I don't think they didn't have the van yet, but like driving on the desert road, driving on a desert highway, just about the road life in general and how it can be kind of grueling, even though these guys really didn't tour that much yet. But I could just picture that kind of atmosphere when I listen to this track. And that's just halfway through the album. You flip the vinyl over, if you have the vinyl, you listen to the next track, What You're Doing. Oh, another quintessential Rush riff. Powerful rocker where Geddy's saying, look, man, what you're doing is wrong. We're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to be good people. We're just trying to rock out and have a good time. You don't bring us down, man. It's kind of like a heavy rock hippie anthem almost. It's just very powerful. And I love Rusty's drumming on it. And Geddy's bass work is kind of understated on this album, besides the last track, which we're going to get to. But it's still there. He's still developing his talent. But his vocals and his shrieking, another point of contention with a lot of Rush haters or people who haven't really got into Rush. Geddy Lee's vocals are peak shriek on this. That should be a term, peak shriek. But I love it, man. Like, he's doing his Robert Plant. He's doing his Ian Gillan. He's right up there. It's just very amazing stuff. It's astounding. And then In the Mood, another song that people like to dog. But again, I love In the Mood, especially when they play it live. They make it kind of silly. They kind of change the lyrics up a little bit when they do it in the later eras, like All the World is Stage and Exit Stage Left, stuff like that. They'll change it up and they'll change the lyrics, kind of make it funny, a little tongue-in-cheek. But I love the studio version. It has this Led Zeppelin sort of riff to it. It's very Southern rock inspired, and I just absolutely love that kind of sound. But if you want that sound and you don't want to listen to a bunch of, Southern rockers doing it, then listen to Rush doing it, because I think it's pretty killer. And then we finally get to the finale, one of the biggest Rush songs ever, Working Man. If you really want your first taste of Rush and you don't want to dive headfirst into the more progressive stuff, then I would start with Working Man, because it's still long, but it doesn't feel that long. You have Geddy's excellent bass flourishes throughout the track. Alex is just dumping you with fantastic heavy riffage and guitar solos. John Rutsey's pounding away. And Neil, when they would play it live, Neil would do the song incredible justice, adding his own little frills and fills and stuff in there. Excellent, excellent track. And I love this as a closer, because it's not a ballad, but it also has its more melodic parts. It doesn't start off too heavy. Like, it's still mid-tempo until that middle section, and then it ends just kind of on this crashing note. One moment, please. Sorry about that. I had to tend to a little finger wound. Wintertime in New England, dry skin, cracked skin. It's just awful this time of year. Especially this year. I feel like it's been really bad. I don't know if anyone else has been experiencing really dry skin, but my hands are just awful right now. It's funny, my iPhone camera, the front camera isn't that great. The back camera is great, but I'm kind of glad the front camera is not that great, because you can't really see how bad my hands are. If you could, you probably would just click off the video immediately. But enough about New England and dry hands and cracked skin and wounds and all that stuff. Getting back to the music. So I want to show you guys the booklets, or lack thereof, of these early Mercury reissues. Because I'm probably not going to show these off again for a little while, unless I'm showing them up on Instagram or Facebook or wherever I post it. So while I'm doing the retrospective, I want to show off everything that comes with these. So this one, you can see Rush Remaster. You can tell because it has that in the spine. It'll say Anthem and Mercury Records, 1997. These early ones, these first couple, there's not much included. So you have, obviously, the logo, and then you have the iconic photo of the three guys there, Alex, John Rutsey, and Geddy Lee. And then you have the opening, which is just a fold-out. Track listing, track times, no lyrics, so I can't go back to that again. I can't play that old shtick again. I love this part. With special thanks to Donna Halper at WMMS in Cleveland for getting the ball rolling. I love that shout out, and they thanked her on pretty much all these albums, and she's always been a part of the band. But if you are someone who's not a Rush fan, and you like 70s hard rock, I would recommend maybe starting here, or the next album we'll be talking about, because I feel like this will really ease you into Rush's sound going forward. So for these next couple, I only have one copy of each. A little sad, I know, but I'm waiting for these next couple to get more reissues in the future. But next one, of course, Neil Peart joins the band. One of the greatest drummers, or probably the greatest drummer of all time. Most Rush fans will, all Rush fans will agree with you with that statement. That is Fly By Night. I mean, look at this cover, man. Like, so iconic. Starting off with Anthem. That song is a pound in the face. If you listen to this on CD or vinyl, it's just going to kick your ass as soon as you put it on. And Geddy's bass work has really improved since the debut. He's really coming into his own here. And especially on his singing. Again, I love the screams that he does on this track. Just so powerful. And Neil is just playing like he's got everything to prove on it. And Alex's solo is one of my personal favorites in the entire catalog. And now, one of the things about this album that some people will give flack for and they'll point out is some of the songs on here are leftovers from the debut. And one such song is the second track, Best I Can. Now, this song was actually played live, and if you buy the ABC compilation, 1974 is actually a radio broadcast of Rush playing in Cleveland. Great set, by the way. Sounds really good except for the last, 3 songs. Those songs I could kind of do without. The sound quality is not very good, but the whole rest of the show, they play a couple of rarities, like the cover of Bad Boy, and they play, what else did they play on that? Yeah, Bad Boy, and they played Fancy Dancer. Another one that they played, which they didn't really play too much live after that. So yes, I would check that out, Rush ABC, again, CD or vinyl. I don't own it personally, but it is on Spotify, shockingly enough, so if you're not sure about it, I'd listen to it there first. But going from Anthem to Best I Can, just that 1-2 punch. This is great heavy rock song. The lyrics are very prototypical of the debut album, so that's really where the leftover feel comes from. But I still think it fits on this album very heavily, because this is a growing kind of album. Like, you have the more adolescent sort of moments, but then you have the more mature moments, such as the next song, Beneath, Between, and Behind, which was one of the first songs that Neil wrote for the band. And you can really tell the songs that he wrote and the songs that Geddy and Alex wrote, because they're two totally different worlds. And talk about a song that's rockin', but also has lyrics that are very poignant and have aged extremely well. Basically, this song is a little bit of a poke or a critique at the American dream and how it's slowly dying. And reminder, this was 1975 this came out. The debut was 74. Just 1 year later. And this was the 70s. Like, this was still a new kind of thing. You know, talking about that. Like, it started to blossom. You had stuff like Black Sabbath talking about it, and you had some of the more hippier kind of bands like Crosby, Stills, and Nash kind of poking fun at it. When, again, they were Canadian. A lot of Canadians can get away with talking smack about America. It's weird. We give them the pass for some reason, but I love it, man. Like, sometimes we need a good slap in the face. Sometimes we need a good reminder of, like, look, not everything is perfect here. And I think this song is a great testament to that. And this is one of the first times Neil's taking his lyrical content. He's not really writing about fantasy like he is on By Tour and some songs in the future. This is one of his first more social, political kind of songwriting lyric leanings. So, again, first time, for now, very poignant, great song. It's rocking, it's heavy. It's 3 minutes and 1 second. It's one of the shortest Rush songs you'll ever hear, but it just packs a punch. Again, a great little guitar drum opening, and it just rocks all the way through. Finishing off side one, we get the amazing, epic By Tour and the Snow Dog. Now, this is Rush's first real epic. This is really them taking that prog influence that King Crimson, Genesis, yes, sort of influenced Pink Floyd too, taking that influence and really adding it to their songs. This is the first time they would do that. You have the chime bells on here. I believe the glockenspiel's on By Tour, if I remember correctly. It's still very 70s hard rockin', which is fantastic, because I love songs like that that are longer, but they're still progressive. Maybe that's why I like the first album so much, because there's a little bit of dabble of that too. But By Tour, it's a very simple song in concept. The lyrics are about By Tour, who's this evil, like, Viking kind of guy, I guess, or like demon maybe, or whatever, some kind of evil figure. It's evil bad guy, and Snow Dog is the good guy. Now, funny enough, I'll show the inside in a second, but the funny thing is that this song is actually about the two guys, Alex and Geddy, in the band, like, debating who's going to play guitar. So, funny enough, Alex is the Snow Dog, and Geddy is By Tour. So it actually said on the back, or in the booklet, you have the vinyl, it'll say on the back, but in the booklet here, it'll say Geddy Lee By Tour. It'll say Alex Lifeson and Snow Dog. So that's interesting. So they kind of break the fourth wall a little bit, and it just shows the tongue-in-cheek nature of these guys. Like, they're really showcasing the sense of humor here. The song again opens with a really powerful drum fill by Neil, and Geddy's just shouting out as soon as the track begins. And it sounds like a battle between good and evil. Particularly that middle section, where you hear Alex doing that crunchy sound with the guitar. I don't know how he's doing that with the pedals or the effects or anything like that. I'm not a guitar guy. I don't know much about amps and pedals and tabs and all that stuff. But I do know he's doing something with the guitar to make it sound like a battle's going on, like a monster's growling, and then you got the By Tour, and you got the Snow Dog kind of barking, and they're battling, they're clashing. And at the end, when that whole thing concludes, it's just nothing but calm, and you just hear the tubular bells. And one thing I love about that section is, like, it's very atmospheric. It's like, okay, now it's the calm after the storm. The battle's over. And I think what's great is that you can feel, like, you know those 80s movies or the cartoons where the battle's over and all you see is just a little bit of mist and the battle's done. You can just tell, yes, this is the aftermath of the war or the battle. That's just the first side. Then flipping it over, track 5 on here, the title track, Fly By Night. What a quintessential riff on that. It's just so classic. It's so 70s and breezy. I just love the lyrics of a guy who wants to get away and live his dreams. Like, he could be safe at home, just living his life normally, which that's kind of a theme we'll get back to in the next album on one of the tracks. But this song is sort of an earlier version of that, where he just wants to get away. Like, he doesn't belong here. He wants to go out and do his own thing, live his dreams, which I think is Neil. I think it's Neil's sort of personifying that in a song, saying he wants to go and be a musician and live out his dreams. A lot of people don't know Neil went to England before he joined Rush to become a musician. He wanted to be in one of the big British bands and be a drummer. Didn't work out for him though, so he had to go back to Canada and work at his parts store with his dad. And I love that article in the newspaper. There's a newspaper article where it shows Neil Peart, parts manager, and it shows like a paper ad in the paper or something in Canada, and it shows him, young Neil, and it shows his dad. I think that's awesome. I just love seeing stuff like that. And so I think, to me, that track is kind of his feelings about that whole situation in this. And again, on Hemispheres, Circumstances, we'll get to that later video, the next part actually, but that kind of comes up again in Circumstances. The things that I want to point out is Geddy's singing. Geddy is really good at portraying a character. The way he sings Neil's lyrics and the way he's able to take Neil's lyrics and really mold them so the listener is able to pay attention and hear what they're saying, but also really take in the message. Geddy is like Neil's ultimate translator in a way. It's just fantastic. The way he is able to sing in that high register, and especially his woes and his inflection. You really hear the emotion and everything. And Alex's solo is just great too. I mean, Alex is always great, but his solo on there is just so powerful. It's uplifting. It makes you want to get up and say, yes, I'm going to live my dreams, man. Oh, I stand corrected. Beneath, Between, and Behind is not the shortest song. The next song, Making Memories, is 2 minutes and 57 seconds. a mere 4 seconds shorter, in fact. So yes, short song, but not... So I made a little bit of a goof. The next song, Making Memories, is 2 minutes and 57 seconds. That's the shortest song on this album, not Beneath, Between, and Behind. That song has 4 extra seconds, so I was wrong about that. But even though Making Memories is deeper in the track listing, it's not one of the big songs, it wasn't a big radio hit, I still think it fits in the context of the album. Rush was still a touring band, early touring band. They were still fresh out on the road. So this song really chronicles that early era. And I love how Neil's saying, road life's not so bad, you know? It's just like, yeah, man, I love touring. And then you find out 40 years later, I didn't really like touring, at least the life of touring. So it's interesting, like, he wrote this song and then you find out 4 decades later, maybe not. But no, I love when Rush do a nice acoustic-y, folky tune. I just love Alex's guitar playing, his acoustic guitar playing, and really folky sound. He would revisit that a lot in Farewell to Kings and Hemispheres and albums going forward, but I just love his acoustic playing. That's something he doesn't get a lot of credit for. Similar to Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath, he doesn't get enough credit for his acoustic guitar playing either. But these guys are great at the folky kind of minstrel stuff. And I just love this song, man. Making Memories is so good. It's kind of a happy-go-lucky tune. You know, in contrast to the next album, which is the exact opposite of happy-go-lucky for the most part, this is a nice song to kind of ease yourself into if you're just getting into the band. And getting to the only song on this album that people could kind of say is a little, I don't want to say boring, but yeah, it's kind of sleepy, is Rivendell. Now, I love this song personally, but I'm not always in the mood to listen to it. But if I'm listening to it on the CD or the vinyl, I'll obviously just listen to it. It's not that long. I think the problem is it's 5 minutes. It should have been maybe 3.5 minutes. Or maybe Alex could have added a little bit more guitar flourishes, maybe a little bluesy solo in there. But the point of it being Rivendell is more Lord of the Rings kind of sound, so it stays very subdued and folky. It's still a good song, though. I like the lyrical content. They're pretty much just ripping off J.R.R. Tolkien, which isn't a bad thing, but they would do that in the coming albums as well. But the last song on here, no complaints. In the End, which they played on that ABC 1974 concert, which is a great version of that as well. But this song, oh my God, this song it's powerful, it's emotive. It's just so, I don't know, it's uplifting, but also kind of, it's bittersweet. Like this song, I love the lyrics especially, but the way it starts off very slow and then builds and builds and builds into this crescendoing piece, and Alex's guitar work, I almost said Alice. Alex's guitar work is just so beautiful. It's glittery, but also it's stinging and powerful all at the same time. And at 6 minutes and 46 seconds, it's more of a longer tune, and they really give it time to breathe, especially that middle section where he's just going off. And Geddy's really emoting the lyrics here. And I believe this was actually written by Geddy, which would make sense. This is a Geddy type of song. So, give me a moment here. Lee Lyson. Okay, so Geddy did write this. But what's interesting is Neil has handwritten lyrics for it, so maybe he just rewrote the lyrics for this album, which is cool. I didn't even realize that till now. But that's interesting. But yes, just going back to the lyrics, I always picture this song as a relationship, and how sometimes us men don't feel things as fast. We don't realize things as fast as women can sometimes. Like the words, I could see what you mean, but it just takes me longer. Or, I could do what you do, you just do it better. I can shine like you shine. It doesn't make me brighter. It's just that whole contrast, that whole conflict, which is something that Neil himself would bring up in the Counterparts album, that dark light, that whole juxtaposition thing. And then we're speaking about lyrics, now I'm going to show off the book. So, here's the cover again. I love this cover. Not done by Hugh Syme, though. He'll be on the next one. This was, I believe, a painting. I don't know if it says who did the painting, but either way, I love the cover. Here's all of the handwritten lyrics. Again, the ones that Geddy and Alex wrote, I'm assuming that Neil just wrote over, and he just did his own version of the handwritten, the drawing. Back. And again, you can see here, Geddy Lee, bass guitarist, classical guitarist, all vocals, and By Tour. I don't know if it's going to show up or not. It might be blurry. Tell you, these iPhone cameras, the front sucks, man. Wasn't kidding. There's Neil. Just says percussion. That's it. And then Alex Lifeson is electric guitars, 6 and 12 string acoustic guitars, and Snow Dog. So that was Fly By Night from 1975, one of my personal favorite Rush albums. It really showcases the band's heavy blues rock side while also foreshadowing the direction they'd be going with in the future. Now, going from an album that was pretty well liked by a lot of fans, and even critics sort of liked it, even though the critics never really liked Rush, but it was received decently well. We get on to an album that is lambasted by a lot of people. A lot of Rush fans like me love this album, but a lot of people didn't like this album when it first came out, and even some people lambast it to this day. And that's, of course, Crest of Steel, again in 1975. 2 albums in 1 year, one of which being this heavy, almost progressive metal type of album. And if you've watched any video with Martin Popoff, he'll tell you that he thinks that this album, Crest of Steel, is the first progressive metal album. And I wholeheartedly agree with him. While you have bands like Black Sabbath doing the kind of progressive-ish sound with like Volume 4 and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, this to me is really where progressive metal begins. This is where the beginnings of progressive metal. A lot of people see this as the Rush kind of pot album because the guys were doing a lot of pot when they wrote this. Which, I mean, hey, if they did pot while they made this, doesn't bug me none because this is a great album and it's actually one of my favorites from this early period. It's still very hard rocking, still very bluesy, but this is really where the progressive elements start to come into their own. Yes, it's their first try, so you have the Necromancer and the Final Lamneth. People say they're too long, they don't really work, especially Final Lamneth. All the pieces don't really fit, but no, I love all the pieces of these 2 songs. I think they're fantastic, but starting off the album with Bastille Day, that song is just ripping and heavy. I love the riff to that, and getting to that little bass run at the very beginning of the track, right after Alex's first riff, and then you got Neil just pounding on those drums, and Geddy's just going out shrieking about the French Revolution. Yeah, one of the best songs Rush ever made. And one thing I like about these remasters, you can really hear everything that's going on around you. It's a little truncated, so it's more kind of in the middle. It's almost like a half mono, half stereo kind of experience, but you can still hear everything on here crystal clear. And just hearing that Geddy bass run in the background just really reaffirms how much I love this record. I think I'm going bald, which is a silly kind of 70s rocker, but knowing that the band would not do songs like this ever again after like the next album going forward, you really start to appreciate tracks like this that are just shorter, straight to the point, they're hard rocking, just kind of funny, tongue in cheek. The rumor is that Geddy wrote this song about himself because he thought that he was losing his hair, or people say it was about Alex losing his hair. I don't know, there's multiple different stories, but either way, the music on here just freaking rocks, man. Like, the riff, the solo. I love when Geddy's like, I'll be gray my way, and it just gets into that, that whole thing that Alex does. Like, it's kind of like a guitarist laughing, which I believe was intentional. So it's like Alex is playing this kind of funny riff, and he's really shows that he can he's really mastering his instrument here. And that's just amazing to me. Lakeside Park, one of the best songs these guys ever did. This is more melancholic, a little bit more, more mature writing for Neil. He's talking about the loss of innocence. And as you get older, the magic starts to fade. And like every year you go back to that Lakeside Park, the magic is less and less prevalent because you're getting older. You're just not, appreciating things as much. And that's actually something they bring up, and I think I'm going bald as well. It's like, oh, I used to smell the flowers, now I want to buy the land, or now I used to want to drink the water, but now it must be wine. Like, you just don't appreciate things like you used to when you were younger. So I think I'm going bald first, and then Lakeside Park is a great track sequencing idea. That's enough with the short, kind of tongue-in-cheek songs. Now we're getting into the balls-to-the-wall progressive epics, man. We got the Necromancer, 12 minutes and 29 seconds. This song is all Lord of the Rings out. It's Pot Rush at its peak. Well, maybe not its peak, the next song is, but it's pretty damn close. This song is fantastic. You have this really weird opening with Neil's vocals being tuned down. Like he's narrating the the song, which can kind of be a turnoff at first, but once you hear it enough times, you realize, okay, it's kind of cool. It's whatever. But then Geddy's singing in this really lighter register. He's not shrieking like he normally does. He has really great vocal range here. Now on to the big one. The big closer. Fountain of Lamneth. 19 minutes and 58 seconds. It's 2 seconds short of 20 minutes. So, yes. Long track. Lot to digest. I would not start with this album or this song if you want to get into Rush. But I will say that this is one of my favorite Rush epics. I love everything about this, even if the pieces don't necessarily fit. I love the opening, the motif, where it's like that whole little thing that they reprise over and over again. Alex's guitar work is heavy, but also very classical in nature. I love the lyrical content. Essentially, this song is about a guy who wants to find the Fountain of Lamneth. And so he goes on this long-ass journey to find this fountain. And along the way, his ship crashes. There's a part in here about a storm. I'm trying to think. I think it's the one at the bridge, I believe, or somewhere in that section where the boat crashes. You hear the waves, and you hear the heavy part that details that. Then he crashes. He meets a girl called Panacea. He lived with her for maybe a few months, a few years. I don't think it's really specifically said, but he lived with her for a while. But then he has to leave her because the fountain beckons, and he must go. You know, I must go. My fountain needs me. That sort of deal. So he leaves her. You know, and again, that goes back to Fly By Night with the title track, Fly By Night. Back to that sort of motif, following your dreams, going and doing something. Then you go to Bacchus Plateau and the fountain, which the fountain, you find out, is just a regular fountain. The guy wasted his life finding the fountain, and then he must accept the fact that he kind of wasted his life trying to find the fountain, but then I think he kind of accepts the fact that he at least did the journey, because the point of the journey is not to arrive. Neil said that multiple times. So I think that's showcased in these lyrics and this story as a whole. And then the end, where it just kind of calms down. You get one more reprise of that part, and then it just calms down. At the very end, it reprises the opening part of I Am Born, I Am Me, like in the beginning of the track, and then it just ends. And the song is 20 minutes, but it really doesn't feel that long. If you love all the different parts and you can really feel where it's going, then I think you'll really like this track. But I'm going to warn you folks who are not into Rush, do not start here. Don't even touch this album until you've listened to at least the first two. Skip this one. I'd actually recommend listening to the next one we're going to talk about, or one of the albums that I'm going to be talking about in the next part of the series, because this album is like a dark forest, man. We'll go back to that theme of the album cover. Yeah, dark album. Again, first album cover would be done by Hugh Syme, by the way, who would be with the band their entire career and would even do their 40th anniversary box sets and alternate artworks going forward. But now we get to the big one of the video. This is the main showcase of the video. 2112. This album has influenced so many bands, so many artists. It's just crazy how great this album is. And if you want to see my full review breakdown of this classic masterpiece, I'm going to leave that in the comment section below, in the description, in the video below, I should say. But if you want to leave a comment on that too, that'd be greatly appreciated. My copy is still sealed, actually. I didn't even open this up yet. I have 2112 on vinyl, and I plan on getting the 40th anniversary edition on CD. So this will stay sealed, because I'm going to buy another version of this in the future. So this one I have not heard the Rush remaster yet, since it's the only copy I have, and I'm not going to open it, because I'm a lunatic like that. But this album, the opening suite, 2112, with that, I believe it's a Mellotron, that little piano bit that Hugh Syme plays, the first instance of a synthesizer on any Rush album really opens the album, and then you get that riff, the duh, and then it bursts in, and the overture is 4 minutes long, 4.5 minutes long, and it's mostly instrumental until you get to the part where Geddes says, "In the meek shall inherit the earth." That's when the Temple of Syrinx take over. For many folks that don't know, this is a concept. Well, side one is a concept piece about pretty much the individual and how that can easily be taken away by fascism. And so the record company was scared to put this out because of how bad this album bombed. The record company essentially told the guys, if you guys don't do radio singles, radio hits, if you guys don't start making us money, essentially, we're going to kick you off the label. But instead of folding and basically bending to their needs, the guy said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to dive even heavier into the concepts, in the sci-fi, in the weirdness. We're going to buy kimonos, and we're going to shoot a weird space epic kind of thing, and we're going to just call it 2112, and it's going to be this whole thing. It's going to be a naked guy on the back with a star, and it's going to be weird and abstract, but damn it, we're going to do it anyway. And the thing is, this would end up actually working out for them, because this would be one of the biggest albums of all time, along with one of the next albums I'm going to talk about in the coming episodes. But getting back to 2112, I just love the overture and the Temple of Syrinx, how Geddy is just singing up a storm. Like, his shrieks are powerful on here. This is really progressive metal at its 1976 finest right here. This is an early example of just great progressive rock, progressive metal. And going into Discovery, how the guy discovers the guitar in the cave and he's playing it, and Alex is actually tuning the guitar in the song. Like, it just adds to the whole atmosphere. You actually feel that this is a real story that's taking place here, not just this fictional album that's on a vinyl record or a CD. And then he presents that guitar to the priest, and they say, no, forget the silly whims. That's the old way. We don't want the old way. This is the new way. So they break the guitar. He gets sad. He has a dream, and then he eventually just ends up ending his own life. And don't think because the first side is so great in this progressive epic that the second side isn't also great. Because you'd be wrong. Sometimes I actually like to listen to the second side more, because it's more, I don't want to say happy-go-lucky, but it's a little more uplifting. Like The Passage to Bangkok. This is one of the more simple songs that Neil would write. It's just a song about the guys going around the world and buying all types of weed and just smoking and having a good time. There's even a big bong riff in the track before Alex's fantastic guitar solo. Great song, though. I love the riff to that. Even though the little hasn't really aged too well, but the riff itself is just fantastic and, again, very powerful. And you got the Twilight Zone, which is just a retelling of some snippets of episodes from the show, The Twilight Zone, the original version. Great stuff there. Again, very hazy, kind of bluesy track. I love Alex's solo that closes out the song and just kind of fades out on this melancholic, mysterious note. And then Lessons, song written by Alex, which is something that wouldn't happen ever again. But I love this song. The way it's written is so angsty and powerful. It starts off with this kind of folky, happy-go-lucky song, but then the chorus is just like, it's great, man. And again, Alex's soloing and his guitar work, and how he's able to switch between the acoustic guitar and the electric guitar and just interweave them is just so masterful. We slow things down with a great ballad written by Geddy. Again, this is a Geddy song, Tears. I love Tears. Such a great ballad. Something that these guys didn't really do too much of, but it's just so perfect for the penultimate track. It really helps slow down the mood of the rest of the album. And the fact that there's a little bit of a mellotron on here that Hugh Stein plays, either mellotron or piano, I don't remember quite distinctly, but that part is just so amazing. So the instrumentation is just so good on here in general. And I believe there's also some little bit of strings on here too that really, they just tug at your heartstrings. And the fact that Geddy wrote this, something that I kind of miss about later Rush, post-Permanent Waves, was that Geddy would write one song on the album. So we would get a Geddy song that he wrote. And I think he has a little bit of a different approach to Neil. But the fact is that he learned a lot from Neil. So when you get to a song such as Different Strings, it kind of sounds like a Neil song, but it has Geddy's sort of stamp of approval on it. With a heavy rock or Something for Nothing, really reprising those themes from the title track about individualism and going out and pursuing your dreams and being your own person. But this song is just under 4 minutes, and it's a heavy rocker. Again, the way Alex plays on here, it's just, oh my God. This is why this album is considered like a progressive metal album almost. These guys were basically metal at this, Crest of Steel and this were basically metal albums almost, and how heavy and aggressive they could get. It starts off kind of slow and melodic, and then it just breaks, sort of like Lessons, just breaks into that heavy riff. And Alex's solo is one of the best on here. I'm going to scrap that. Just to me, you couldn't pick a better closer for this record because it roars this album to a close. It doesn't end on tears. I think that would have been a mistake ending it on tears because you would have felt like you were missing something. But to me, ending on something for nothing was the right way to go. Alright, and that's it for the studio albums. So now we start a trend with Rush where they would record 4 albums and then we get a live album. And in this case, we get the amazing, raw, powerful, aggressive, any other adjective you could use for All the World's a Stage. This is my personal favorite Rush album because of its rawness and its energy and its aggressiveness. Starting off with Bastille Day was the right choice. Great way to open up a concert. And then going up into Anthem, again, a great heavy transition into that. And I think what I like about this live album the most is that you can really hear Geddy's bass work, but still kind of raw and just aggressive. It's not really polished or anything like it would be in the future live albums. And then one thing I love about their live albums, they always do a medley. These guys have a lot of albums, so eventually they'd have to do shorter medleys of their older tracks. And they start doing that here with Fly By Night going into In the Mood, which great little segment. So they do Fly By Night, do about half of that, and they go right into In the Mood, that heavy southern rock riff, and they'd have the crowd Geddy be like, hey, show me your hands, clap, really showcasing his powerful stage presence as a front man and really getting the crowd going. Something for Nothing I just talked about earlier, great one. Lakeside Park, I'm glad they play that on here. Geddy talks about how it's a place that's not too far from where they're playing. I think they're playing here, Massey Hall or something like that? They're playing, that's great. They play 2112 in its entirety, besides the Discovery portion, but still great, still rocking heavy. They played By Tour and the Snow Dog, which is an extended version of By Tour and the Snow Dog. Freaking great. It's almost 12 minutes as opposed to the 8-minute version on Crest of Steel. So that's All the World's a Stage. The cover, great live shot of the guys in the back. Again, killer remaster. This one is really the first one that replicates the vinyl artwork. So the other one was a trifold. Original was like a tri-gatefold. They replicate that here on the CD. I mean, look at all these killer live shots, man. It really shows the band in these early years. Just upstage kicking ass. You get all the song titles, credits, all that stuff. Just amazing. You get little signatures here of the 3 guys, which I love. And I love how it says, it's not perfect, but it's faithful to us and you. So they're basically saying, yeah, it's kind of a raw album, but this is us. This is our unabashed Rush live show at the time. All right, guys, that's going to do it for my early Rush retrospective. The first 4 albums of Rush and the live album. The debut, Fly By Night, Crest of Steel, and 2112, and All the World's a Stage. Some of my favorite albums of Rush. The band really started to get going at this time, and after All the World's a Stage, they would really get a name for themselves. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give the video a like. It always helps out the channel. Make sure to swing on over to that subscribe button to join our Musical Monk family. Slap that notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload a new video to the channel. And if you're watching this video, you don't have to be reminded to listen to Rush. And for all my fellow monks out there, don't forget to keep spinning those discs.